Good morning everyone, welcome back to the Nature Patch and welcome to the first garden tour of our new place. I have a very strong cup of coffee with me here this morning because I am still exhausted and so tired after our move. I think it definitely takes like a few weeks to kind of get back into the swing of things after you move. We still haven't unpacked the house. I'm still unpacking the kitchen and just getting all of our familiar things around us to make this place feel like home. But the garden here already feels like home. There's so many gorgeous birds around and lots of plants already here, lots of trees. There's some fruit trees. The soil is really great, so I've kind of been checking out all of the different areas of where I might want my gardens in this space behind me. So I'm sitting in the backyard and all of this faces north, which is great, and the other side of the house, which is the smaller area, faces south. That's where I'm not going to be putting too much of a focus on. I'll mainly be out here in the backyard, so that's where you'll see most of the videos from. To put a little bit of perspective, I'll put an overlay of what the backyard looks like from the balcony above me. It gives a little bit of an idea of how big the space is, but I think it's around half an acre, the whole property. And I definitely have a lot of really prime growing spaces in this garden. In a little bit, I'll walk down and share with you all of my plans and, also why this garden is just super special to me. But I suppose we can start behind me. This is going to be my Zone 1 permaculture patch. So in your Zone 1, that's all located close to your house, as close as it can be, so you can access it really readily. In your Zone 1, you usually plant things like herbs and greens or vegetables that you use on a daily basis. So I'm going to be transforming this space into kind of a herb and greens and just a beautiful space for us. I've already started kind of drawing out on a piece of paper what I think it might look like. I really want to have some weaving pathways go through this little area. Nothing too formal and straight. I want it to have more of a cottage garden vibe with herbs and flowers kind of planted in between one another. And predominantly I'm going to be doing a no dig garden in here, mainly because there are some pipes that actually go under it. So I only want to be planting things that have a shallow root system. But also the soil is just really, really great. It's kind of a little bit more clayey than I'm used to, but there is so much organic matter in this soil. It has been worked and loved for years. So I'm really thankful that the soil is really good for growing vegetables in this whole backyard. For now, I also have my compost situation, which you're actually sitting on right now, one of the worm farms. And this is kind of just temporary, but we needed somewhere to put like all of our cat poo in some of the worm farms and also our compost bin. We've been weeding some of the beds and we put our food scraps in here. And I want this nice and close to the house, but I'm not too sure where I want it yet because I think I might want to kind of redesign this area to be kind of like an outdoor sitting area so that we can sit right next to the garden and enjoy it. Other things I might include in this garden behind me, I'm thinking of planting some dwarf trees like dwarf citrus. I'd love maybe a dwarf olive tree just because I love the look of olive trees and I think it would suit really well to a herb and greens garden. But I also just really want lots of beauty, lots of flowers. I'd like to put a bird bath in. And a lot of this I'm just going to try and find in the area. So we're living in South Coast New South Wales around the Shoalhaven region, and there are a lot of great op shops around here, and Facebook Marketplace has and will be my very good friend over the next few months. So I'm going to try and see what I can find on there and see how I can incorporate a lot of that into the garden. So that's a real rough overview of this space. I will take you up and we'll go for a little walk and I'll show you some of the other areas of the garden and what my thoughts are. So down there was where I was sitting, that is kind of the composting area, and then I'll turn around and we're going to walk down here and I'll show you the rest of the garden. So I've actually never grown them before, but we have some really gorgeous hydrangeas in this garden and they're all kind of coming to an end, but we're still getting, a few gorgeous blooms off them, like in there. And I'm excited to experiment with hydrangeas and experiment with pH because I believe that can kind of change the colour of the flowers. Let me know if you've got any experience with hydrangeas specifically ones that get like, you know, this big. This shed is quite big, and I think that's just one plant next to it. There are a few more around the garden, but I would love to know, you know, how do you take care of them? When do you prune them? Anything hydrangeas, let me know in the comments. Next to that is the shed, and this has got a lot of my garden equipment, a lot of cardboard that we've had from moving, and just all my wheelbarrows and things like that. And then there's a few other little garden beds along the side, all along here. Along this line here is the neighbour's fence, so our kind of garden stops there, and similarly on the other side, that's the other garden fence. So it's a narrow but long garden, and then throughout there's a lot of established like shrubs and trees. To be honest, I'm yet to actually ID a lot of them. I need to go around and just like make a bit of a map with all of the plants here. But they are all really pretty. We do have a hibiscus over there. And then this is kind of a break in the garden. It's about midway. And this has some gorgeous established trees. There's a jacaranda tree up there. Mum told me what that plant was, but I can't quite remember. And then this is kind of the behind view. So the house is up there and the shed. We've got a few plants along the side, some bottle brush trees. So this is the kind of most established part of the garden, I'd say, with some of the bigger trees as well as some down towards the end of the garden. But all in this area, I am yet to decide what to do. It's a big area, but I do want to keep some grass in here just because I don't know how long we're going to be staying here. And I know the owners would prefer that. There is a tap there, which is going to be handy because that's the only one in the backyard apart from up next to the house. But as we go down here, this is the next part of the garden, which has some fruit trees in it and another really big wide open space. So this space here is where I'm planning on having a really large veggie garden, kind of a bit more of a market style, I think, because I have so much space and the soil in this part of the garden is just really, really great. So I'm thinking a really large market style garden in there. It's going to be a lot of work, but I am really excited. And in winter, this area, because this all faces north down here, so north is up kind of that way, this will get a lot more sun. So in the southern hemisphere, if you're in a southern climate like we are, generally north-facing gardens are going to be a little bit more productive than south-facing, particularly if you've got a lot of shade like we do, because the house shades the other garden, which is facing south. So some of these trees are a little bit sad. They haven't really been taken care of for a few years, and I'm not sure if I'm really going to be able to resurrect some of them, but they're all kind of old-fashioned style citrus. So there's some oranges, I think, and I think that one may be a grapefruit. But down the very end of the garden, this here is an old style pear tree, which does have some pears on it, but I am going to have to net them if I want to have any of them in the house. Yeah, they're just really little at the moment, but yeah, the birds have been getting to them. And I've never ever had a fruit tree this established before, so I'm going to give it some love. It's just such a beautiful tree. And I just want to sit underneath it and have a picnic. But again, if you have any pear tree advice, let me know, so I can take good care of this beautiful tree. And then this is kind of where the garden ends, down at that black or grey fence, and the garden also ends along this line here. So there are some structures in the garden. This used to be an old greenhouse down there. So this is, the new garden space that we're gardening in. I'm yet to figure out the right time of day to come and film, because right now it is very glary. But I will take you up here a little bit and we can have a chat about my overall plans and just a little bit more about this garden and what it means to me. So I've kind of said a few times that this garden is really special to me and has a lot of meaning. And that's because this is my Uma and my Upa's house. They built this house back in the 80s and they have poured so much love and beauty into this garden. And unfortunately, my Upa passed away quite a few years ago, but my Uma is still alive, but she is not very well and in a nursing home down here. She has quite severe dementia, so it's really hard for her to kind of relax and reduce her anxiety a lot of the time. But a part of me really wants to be able to resurrect some of this garden for her to have a place to come back to and to see some veggies and flowers in her garden, which would just bring me and her hopefully just so much joy. So Scott and I decided to move down here because we're both working from home right now. We're both working remotely, and we just had the opportunity to come down here. The house was available for us to live in. We are still paying rent down here, but it's a really good opportunity for us to get to know the area and to just live somewhere different in Australia, experience different people, a different environment, just to kind of decide like where we want to live and where we want to buy our property, because we are looking at buying, hopefully next year, buying a large property where we can, have our dream homestead. But we're not quite there yet, and we just needed another stepping stone to get to our dream. And this was just a perfect opportunity because I've always wanted to live in South Coast New South Wales, nearby some of my family, which I've never actually lived nearby to any of my grandparents before, or any of my extended family other than mum, dad and my brother. And so this was just a really great opportunity for us. So my Oma and my Upa are German, and my dad's also German, and they came over here when my dad was really little, and their work ethic, how they grow plants and just how they live has always inspired me. It's very frugal. They grow a lot of their own food, create their own compost, everything that I'm trying to do. And I just have a really strong connection to the land, which they've poured all of that love and effort into, which is this property here. So where I showed you that really big market garden space, which I'm standing right next to all around here, this used to be where my Upa had his vegetable garden. And I can tell you, I have dug down a little bit in some of the areas and the soil is absolutely beautiful. The amount of cow manure and different chicken manure and organic matter that has gone into this area is just beautiful for a gardener and makes me so happy. And I can just feel that the ground, it wants to have plants in it. So that's what I'm going to do. And I really hope that my Uma, it's really hard with COVID for her to come out of the nursing home, but hopefully someday soon she can come and have a look at the garden and see what I'm doing to it. And we can bring produce and flowers to her. That's another one of Scott and I's main goals for this property, is to just grow as much as we can. And we want to be able to give away a lot of our produce and flowers to our loved ones and any friends that we make in the area. So I'd love to be able to put some bouquets together and produce for the nursing home and any other organisations that are in need in the South Coast area. But I wouldn't be able to do that with your support, and your support by watching these videos does provide me a little bit of an income to be able to do all of this. So I am so grateful for all of you for watching these videos and liking and watching the ads and commenting. All helps me out so much, and I really want to put a lot of that into this garden space and a lot of the support that I do receive into this garden to just resurrect it, because it just means so much to me. And I would love if my Upa is looking down on this to be able to see the garden that we can create, and just make him proud as well. So that was a little deep and meaningful chat for you all. But I might leave the video here, but we are so excited to be growing in this garden space, and I hope you are too, to follow the journey along and see what we can grow in this gorgeous garden. I'm also going to be doing a Q&A maybe in the next few weeks, so let me know if you've got any questions down below and I can answer those. And if you do have any recommendations for videos or things you'd like to see, I'm always willing to take recommendations so that we can create content that is relevant to you and is something that you want to see. So thanks so much for watching this first garden tour, hopefully of many more to come. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are in the world, and until my next video, happy gardening everyone. Bye.